What's good, people? Welcome back to another episode of ACW A Chat With. And today we have a very special guest. I'm joined by the one and only former Leicester Southampton, Dean Hammond. Dean, how are you?
I'm very well, mate. Very well. So, yeah, can't complain.
That's great. That's great. And thank you again. I was saying off the camera, thank you so much for doing this. Well, I feel like we should just get straight into it. So you played a load of years in the Championship and League One, a bit in the Premier League as well. I just want to ask, so how did your football journey begin? When did you fall in love with the game and how did you get into it professionally?
Oh, great question. So started as a young kid, really. I'm from a small town called Hastings, same town as Gareth Barry. We went to the same school. And just started, 6 or 7 years old, really, playing with my parents in the back garden and kind of fell in love with the game there. No history in my family of anyone playing football, but they loved the sport. And then got picked up at Brighton at 11 years old. I went to the School of Excellence, which it is now. It's not like the academies that all the big clubs have now. It was a School of Excellence where we trained once a week and played once at a weekend. And made my way through from at the age 11 till 16. Where I signed YTS forms at Brighton. So that was, a 3-year YTS scholarship, I suppose, where you go into full-time football and you play for the youth team and work your way up professionally. And through that stage, I made my professional debut, I think, at 17 years old when I was still a youth team player, in and out sort of thing around the first team, and then signed professional forms at the age of 19.
Wow. So I know you quickly mentioned you're from the same town in Hastings as Gareth Barry. Was he like, as you went to the same school, I'm guessing he was a bit older than you. Was he kind of like an influence in your game in a sense?
Do you know what? I didn't know him too well because you know what it's like at school. He was 2 years older than me, so he didn't really give us the time of day, to be honest. But his age group actually won the nationals for school football. But no, he was a brilliant player. He was also at Brighton when I first signed at Brighton at age 11, but then he left to go to, I think he went to Aston Villa, age 15, 16. But yeah, obviously I saw what he was doing, saw what he was achieving. And yeah, it does give you the inspiration that, someone else can do it. There've been a few other players from Hastings that had made it as well. Kevin Ball, who used to play for Sunderland, had made it. Paul Watson, who I ended up playing with at Brighton, had made it. A few players coming through. But Gareth Barry, obviously, with the career he'd had and everything like that. So yeah, it was a motivation almost a belief to believe that it was possible. And it was great to see.
That's good. So you're 17, you make your professional debut. What do you remember from it? Is there anything particularly you're thinking, wow, like this is the first time I'm playing football professionally? Like, what was it like for you?
I was really anxious before the game. I had more nerves and anxiety before games. When I got on the pitch, it felt natural to me. It felt normal. So I wasn't really nervous when I played, but the build-up was worse for me. More I suppose, wondering what it was really going to be like. Was I good enough? The anticipation of how will this feel? And I remember I only came on for about 20 minutes, I think. It was at Brighton. We was playing in a cup game. And I remember the first thing that happened, I got an elbow right across the chest from a big centre half from a set. Exactly. So welcome to professional football, and it was a big realisation. Okay, this is a little bit different than youth team football, but that's what I remember. I remember being buzzing about that. Obviously, I'd made my professional debut, and we played at home against Cardiff. But the next day I was playing for the reserves away at Norwich and we lost 5-0 in the reserves. So quickly back down to
earth,
normality. So yeah, but that's part and parcel of what happens when you go through that process of youth team football to professional football. But no, loved it, and it was great that my parents were there to see it. But yeah, that elbow across the chest was pretty painful, I must admit.
Do you remember who it was?
I can't remember who it was. It was a big fella. It was a big centre half. I'd gone up for a set piece and obviously, you'd probably seen a young kid come off and thought, I'm not having this young kid trying to jump me around, muscle me, and just right across my chest. I was winded. I was definitely winded, but it was one of those moments where I couldn't let anyone know I was winded.
Yeah,
that would be the worst thing. So yeah, I was just concentrating on my breathing, which in some respects helped me a little bit because it took my mind off the game. And it was 20 minutes of football. I don't think it was too much that I did during the game, but it was nice to get on the pitch and make my professional debut.
And so your first goal, do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember it? Do you remember it? Like, talk me through it. Do you remember how it went, or do you just remember the celebration you done?
Do you know what? My first goal was it was my first year as a professional footballer. So I made my full debut, as in starting debut, away at Ipswich. Ipswich were in the Premier League at the time. We were in the Championship, and I scored after 8 minutes. We went 1-0 up, but it was from a free kick. The goalkeeper come out for it and missed it, and I come and went behind the goalkeeper and made contact on a volley. But it doesn't. It sounds better than what it was. The ball barely crossed the line, didn't touch the net, but was given. But yeah. I think I celebrated like I'd scored like in the FA Cup final from about 30 yards. But it meant a lot to me. And that was my debut, really. We played, against Ipswich. We had a decent team at that time. I had Ambrose playing, Darren Bent was playing, Fanini George was playing. That's some really big names. So it was a brilliant experience for me. My youth team manager was there to see me, and he fun enough, after the game, he told me he put a bet on me to be the first goal scorer. So he won some money as well. He didn't give me any of it, but he won some money on me. So it was a good day. We lost the game 3-1, but it was nice to score my first goal, and I felt quite comfortable at that level, I must admit.
So obviously, let's talk about Southampton. Was that where you felt? I know you played a lot for Brighton, but did you feel with Southampton your career was more established? What was the difference between Brighton and Southampton?
Wow, at the time, a huge difference. Now they're a lot more similar, but at the time, huge difference. When I was at Brighton, we didn't have a stadium, didn't have a training ground. The club was always on the verge of every season going into administration, so it was very, very different. But going to Southampton was probably the start of me feeling like how do I put this? A proper professional. I was at a big club. I was at a big club with, real history behind it. A club that had been in the Premier League. The club that was aspiring to get back to the Premier League. The training ground and facilities were fantastic. The stadium, you're playing at home. Even though we was in League One, we was getting 30,000. So it was a real okay, this is the starting point. And I felt like, okay, this is a real start of the journey. And I got excited about that, really. And just a privilege to play for Southampton. It really, really was. And just grateful to get the opportunity. But you're right, it did feel different. Really different at the time.
And obviously you played with Morgan Schneiderlin, Ricky Lambert. I'm just taking the names off the top of my head. Who was I wouldn't say your favourite teammate, but someone you loved playing with at Southampton, and why?
I loved playing with him. I didn't like training against him because he was so good. But Adam Lallana was exceptional. I mean, I've been lucky enough. I played with some talented players in my time, but I think you'd have to be right up there. He was brilliant. Both feet, technically brilliant. His awareness was fantastic. Could play anywhere, midfield, up front, and he's a great lad as well. Really humble. Worked harder or as hard as anyone else on his game, on his fitness. Dedicated to the sport, but no, an amazing player. When I first came into the club, he was a young lad at Southampton. You could see the talent he has, but didn't quite maybe understand what the game was necessarily all about. But he quickly adapted to that and had a brilliant time at Southampton. So, no, an amazing player. But like you say, Ricky Lambert, Morgan Schneiderlin, Jose Fonte, Radi Jaidi. I can name so many players that were there, and I'm missing players out. But Jason Punchant was one of the most talented players I played against. David Connolly was an exceptional player, but couldn't really keep himself fit. So we had a brilliant squad, but Adam Lallana just stood out. He had everything.
Yeah. And I was saying, Southampton have quite an infamous academy and had loads of people coming up from like Luke Shaw, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Gareth Bale. Was there anyone at the time when you were there from your youth, was there any story of like, oh, this guy's going to be the next big thing? Were there any of those type of players?
Do you know what? We didn't need to hear about it because they came and trained with us. So Nigel Adkins was one that you have the youngsters come over and train with us to get used to the first team environment. When Oxlade-Chamberlain came over, it was frightening. He looked like he was 12 years old, honestly, but he was so good, technically gifted. He could run. I think he can run quicker with the ball than without it. He just glided across the ground and, brilliant player. And you could see, he came and trained with us at 17. And he had no fear. I must admit, any of the boys that came over that trained with us, there was no fear in them. Really respectful, They were really respectful, listened, wanted to learn, and fitted in the group really, really well. But they weren't frightened to show their ability. You know, you're talking like the players. Luke Shaw, I remember he joined in for one game. I remember him getting it at left back and running through the whole team and crossing the ball. And we were thinking, right, who's this kid? Jesus Christ. And then Oxlade-Chamberlain done the same thing, but he got in the first team at 17. James Ward-Prowse the same, you know, he's a captain of the club now. So Southampton Academy, they produced some really exceptional players, but also they were good lads, really good lads, you know, really settled in and were accepted by the group because they were respected them. We could see they were good players. So yeah, there was a lot of players that came through.
What was it like working under Nigel Adkins at the time?
Good, really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I'd not heard a lot about him when he signed, when he became manager of the club. He'd been at Scunthorpe and had a couple of promotions, but didn't know a lot about him. Played against his team, but came in, had new ideas on the game, had ideas on how he wanted it to play, had ideas of how he wanted us to behave off the pitch in terms of taking care of ourselves. Came in and changed everything in the football club, really, in terms of what we were eating, how we were training, how we were preparing, meetings we would have before the game, after the game. So you'd have meetings to prepare for the game, meetings to analyse the game and dissect the game, and really, really good. You know, he had two good coaches in Dean Wilkins and Andy Crosby as well. We were very, you know, done everything on the training grounds. But yeah, he was good, very positive, very, very positive. You know, we'd always look for the positive in any game, whether you'd won 5-0 or lost 5-0. We'd have a meeting after the game on a Monday, and it was always a video meeting. You'd analyse the game, look at the game, you'd get the players' ideas and opinions on the game, what we can improve, what we did well, and he'd always finish the meeting with, you know, 3 positives. And then once we've done that, something we can potentially improve on, draw a line on it, wouldn't even speak about the game again. So no, good, really good. And obviously we had back-to-back promotions, so he must have been doing something right.
Yeah, exactly. And then so after Southampton, you then went on to Leicester. What was it like? Do you remember much about the transfer? Did it just happen? Did someone just come in and say, "Oh, you're getting moved to Leicester," or did you want to go yourself?
Do you know what? I'd finished. We got back-to-back promotion at Southampton. I got to the Premier League, and then I went on loan to Brighton. So I'd done a year at Brighton in the Championship under Gus Poyet. I loved that, and then went back to Southampton. I still had 2 years left on my deal at Southampton, I think. Went back to Southampton. I wasn't in the plans. Pochettino was manager at the time. The team were doing well in the Premier League, and there was about 5 of us, 6 of us training on our own. So it was me, Billy Sharp, Lee Barnard, and a couple of other players I can't remember now. Steve DeRidder, and a couple of others that we would just train on our own and then occasionally train with the 23s. And I remember coming back early for pre-season thinking, right, okay, I need to get myself fit because I want to find a new club. And I actually rolled my ankle and I was out for 6 or 7 weeks, and then got myself back fit. But during that period, I'd had a couple of interests in a few clubs, but it just didn't quite feel right. So I waited, and then Leicester came in. Obviously, I knew what a big club Leicester was. I knew Nigel Pearson there and people at Southampton because Nigel had been at Southampton previously as manager. So they spoke really highly of him. And as soon as I knew of it, I actually, you know, I was just like, I want this to happen. Really wanted it to happen. It was going to happen on a loan. I didn't want a loan. Then I wanted it to be permanent because I wanted to, you know, settle somewhere. So there was a bit of negotiations like that. In the end, I had to take a pay cut, but I saw what Leicester were trying to do and the ambition of the football club, and I wanted to be part of it and I wanted to play. So yeah, once I'd spoken to Nigel and signed, it happened really, really quickly. So yeah, it was something once I knew about, I wanted it to happen.
Yeah, and so let's talk about Leicester. You played with some amazing players in there. What was it like playing alongside Riyad Mahrez for a year?
Amazing. You know, Riyad came in, I think I signed in September and Riyad came in the January. So we had Riyad Mahrez, Anthony Knockaert, who were very, very similar players. Yeah. Both brilliant, individually fantastic. I mean, Riyad when he first came in, couldn't speak a word of English, but would just smile a lot. He was always really happy, and loved his football. In training, you know, you'd want to give him his own ball because every time he got the ball, he'd want to take 5 or 6 players on and score. And to be fair, most of the time he did do that because he was that talented. but yeah, he gradually learnt the language. He understood what the game was about. But brilliant player. I mean, brilliant player. And like again, it's a bit of a trait with the players I played with that were brilliant players. Are really nice people as well. And he was the same. But yeah, he was always late as well. But always late.
Did you get fined for it?
Of course he did, but he'd bowl in but not like ridiculous, like just 2 or 3 minutes, almost like he was doing it on purpose. But it was always 2 or 3 minutes. But he was one of those players that would love his training, work really hard in training, come back in. We had a big like dome gym thing at Leicester. He'd come back in, he'd be straight in playing head tennis with the young boys, kicking a ball around. He just loved the game. But he was, I mean, what a player was, and then what a player he went on to become at Leicester. So yeah, he was good to train with. Always wanted him on my side in training, put it that way.
And also another teammate you had, I think this was just when I think it was before you were injured as well. You officially shared the pitch with N'Golo Kante for one game. Do you remember that game?
I do, yeah. I do.
I think it was
a white Barry.
Barry, yeah. So was that the easiest midfield partnership you've ever had? What was it like playing with Kante?
Do you know what? Kante played left wing that game. So I know, and he was that good on the left wing as well. Wow. And I was playing. Me and Goch Ingler played centre midfield that game. So we had a hell of a team out against Bury. I think we won 3-1 in the end. But yeah, I mean, Kante was some player. You know, when he first come in, not really heard of him because he signed from, I think it was a French second division team potentially. I think the club paid 4 million, something like that, for him anyway. Didn't know a lot about him, but came in really shy, really shy. But again, smiled a lot. Didn't speak a lot of English, but like I say, we had Riyad there, Anthony Knockar was there, so he settled in really well. Nicest person you ever meet, honestly. So nice, so nice. But what a player! I mean, he was unbelievable. Training against him, he was so sharp. Like he'd read the game so well, but he could read the game and then he could get there first as well. He could run with the ball, good pass with the ball, and so fit. It was like, I mean, I didn't play much that season, but watching him play, he was like having an extra man in midfield. He would cover so much ground, but he was really intelligent as well. It wasn't just his physical attributes. He's really intelligent. He read the game really well, where you'd see an opportunity where I think I can steal this ball or intercept it. And he would, because he had the ability and the speed to do it. But yeah, brilliant player, really good. But he played left wing that day, and he was good. He was mustard left wing as well.
You can do it all again. I was going to ask, and this kind of hurts me as a United fan. Leicester 5-3. You started that game. You played 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Talk me through that game, because I remember we went 2-1 out, that Di Maria chip. You shared the picture of some amazing players with like Rooney. Falcao played that game as well. Di Maria,
Van Persie, You
had Cambiasso with you as well. Tell me, run me through that game, because as a fan, it's a game that still hurts me to this day. But it must have been amazing playing it.
It was brilliant. It was. We were on a decent run at that time. We'd had a good start to the season. I think we just beaten. We drew with Arsenal. We drew with Everton. We'd lost to Chelsea, but only just. We'd beaten Stoke, and then we came to a United game, and I remember we changed formation. We went to a diamond, actually. We'd never played a diamond before. So you had me, Esteban, Danny Drinkwater, and David Nugent like on the top of the diamond to get an extra striker, Jamie Vardy and Leo Ajara up front. So we had an attacking team out, thinking potentially, look, United are going to score a few goals, and we probably need to score a few goals to try and get something out of the game. But we were 2-0 down within. It felt very early. And when you go 2-0 down against United, it was hot as well. It was super Sunday. I'm thinking this might be a little bit embarrassing this today. But we got a goal back through Leo Ajara to make it 2-1 at half time and kind of give us a bit of belief. And then we went 3-1 down in the second half. And if I'm honest, I thought, okay, this is going to be a long afternoon. Maybe we just need to shut up shop and not be embarrassed too much. But then Jamie Vardy got a penalty, which is debatable, I think. I think
don't, because I remember it. I remember it very well. It was a very debatable penalty, but this was before VAR, so
VAR. I don't think it would have been given, but we got the penalty back, and then Esteban scored to make it 3-3, which I'd never heard the King Power that noisy before. To make it 3-3, it was like we'd won the game, and then to go 4-3 up. and then 5-3 to win a penalty in the end. And I think United went down to 10 men as well.
Yeah.
So we got to play out the last, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes with 11 against 10 and 5-3 up. And I must admit, we were olaying it a little bit. And that felt quite nice against United. I'm not sure it's happened again, but it was a brilliant afternoon. I just remember, I was talking about it to someone else the other day, and I think as a footballer, you don't get the chance to appreciate moments or experiences, why they're happening, because you're so focused on a game. But I remember it going to 3-3 and just walking back to the halfway line after the goal and just actually appreciating the noise of the crowd, the excitement of the crowd, and realising, okay, look, I'm playing in the Premier League. We're beating Manchester United 5-3. All these happy people. It's on Super Sunday. Thinking, okay, this is pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good moment. It was a good.
Must have been good for you. It wasn't for me though. It wasn't for me.
Well, saying that, after that, I don't think we won a game in about 15 after that. So it wasn't maybe the best thing that happened.
I was gonna also say, so Leicester. So you had that season with Leicester. You played a couple games, and then I think you got injured after that, and then the next season was the season Leicester won the league. What was that like for you? I know you must have been really happy for your teammates, but gutted you couldn't have been a part of it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It's fantastic because, like I say, good people within that dressing room who deserved everything because they worked hard and a real togetherness. But yeah, I mean, I was there. Claudio Ranieri came in, Nigel Pearson obviously left. I just signed a new one-year contract. And I was on the bench for the first game, but I was 33 at the time, I think, and I wanted to play. I really wanted to play. And with Kante coming in, because they got England to come in, Danny Drinkwater, Matty James, Andy King, it was going to be difficult for me to get regular football. And I kind of realised that. I was never pushed out of the club, never said, look, you need to leave. But I just felt as I wanted to play, and I knew there was an opportunity to go to Sheffield United with Nigel Adkins as was at Sheffield United. So I went out on loan for the season. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me, but it worked out for Leicester. They went on to win the Premier League, which was fantastic. It really, really was. I used to speak to the boys, and they were just brilliant. They were living. It kind of started the season before where, to stay up, we called it...
the end run, didn't it?
Yeah, it was called the Great Escape at Leicester because we had no right to stay up, really. I think we won 7 out of 9 or something like that and drew 1, and we only lost to Chelsea, who were the champions that season. So we had a brilliant run, and it kind of started from there, and then the beginning of the season got on a good run. But the boys, it was a good team, really, really good team. Kante, Danny Drinkwater was brilliant that year, Riyad Mahrez, Leo Joa, Jamie Vardy, Robert Huth and Wes Morgan don't always get the mention, but them two at the back, Danny Simpson, Kasper Schmeichel, Christian Fuchs, it was brilliant. And I used to go to some of the games. They were on a Sunday or a midweek game. I'd go and watch it with my son, and the atmosphere was brilliant. And look, I'm not going to say I couldn't quite believe what was happening, if I'm honest. Leicester being top of the league where the season before we'd only just stayed up, but it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And amazing season that will go down in history and probably never happen again.
I was going to say, do you class that as one of your, let's say the 5-3, you winning the Football League trophy? What do you class as your greatest moment in football or one of your happiest moments of football?
Oh, mate, what a question. I think you always look at the accolades you get. So, winning the Paints Trophy at Wembley, lifting the trophy in front of 60,000 Southampton fans was amazing because it was at Wembley. The back-to-back promotions were good. The promotion with Leicester, playing in the Premier League, which was a career dream, if I'm honest. I started at Brighton when we were in League Two, so to get to the Premier League seemed a long, long way off. But to achieve that was good. So they're good memories. You got the medals. I can talk to the kids about that and ask me if they're ever interested, if they want to know what Daddy used to do. But happy memories. Look, I used to love the youth team days. The youth team days are amazing at Brighton. It was, you're all trying to achieve the same thing to become professional footballers. You've just left school at 16. You're playing football every day. It was class. I loved it. That was, if you say, what's your happiest memories? There was no pressure. There was no expectation. You're just playing football every day with your mates. And getting paid for it. Granted, it was only £45 a week, but we're still getting paid for it. So
yeah, exactly.
It was really, really happy, fond memories of them days. But look, I'm grateful I achieved what I did in my career, and I'm very fortunate. But yeah, they bring a smile to my face. And if we ever meet up as youth team lads, It's a good crack. It is. It's a good band.
So you still close with a lot of the you've seen lads from Brighton?
Still speak to a few, not too many, but still speak to a few, and they're like, yeah, just it. When you do speak up and you do catch up, it's like you're back there again. Yeah, and that's why it's just such fun memories. But yeah, a few all doing all different things. But yeah, they're good lads, really good lads.
And just a couple more. So let's say you're in your prime. Out of all the managers you had, so like Nigel Adkins, Nigel Pearson, Gus Poyet, which manager would get the best out of Dean Hammond in their prime, and why?
Oh, great question. I think the best manager I worked for is in manager, not coach, but manager, was Nigel Pearson. I thought he was brilliant. His management skills. Now, I didn't actually play that much under Nigel, more of an impact player coming off the bench, start a few games, but he was a brilliant manager. I really, really thought he was good. Obviously, Nigel Adkins, I probably played for him in my prime, and we got back-to-back promotions, so he'd have to be on there. But it's a strange one. I really enjoyed playing for Gus Poyet. I mean, Gus was really, really good. We had that year at Brighton. We got to the Championship playoffs. We lost to Crystal Palace in the semi-final. But the football we played, it was really enjoyable, really, really enjoyable. And I think he helped improve me as a player. He showed me different sides to the game. His passion for the game was unbelievable. Out and out winner. And I just really enjoyed that year. We played with some. We had a real mix between English players and Spanish players. And again, playing with those players and training with those players, I think my game improved as well. So, look, Nigel Pearson, Nigel Adkins were fantastic, but I just think if I could have played for Gus in my prime, maybe I played for Gus at 30, so maybe 2 or 3 years earlier, I think I would have enjoyed that.
Yeah. All right, Gus Poyet. And a couple. Actually, we'll make this the last one. The last one. Out of all the players you've played against, like, was there any player you're sharing a picture with and you're just thinking, oh gosh, like, different gravy, like this person is just different on another scale?
I mean, there was a few, I must admit, but I mean, Steven Gerrard was obviously an incredible player. Wayne Rooney again. But I'd say the player that gave me the hardest afternoon I ever had was Ozil when we played Arsenal. Yeah. He was tough, really tough. And when I was playing against him, it was probably two years into his Arsenal career. So when he was really playing well and when he used to run around, if I'm honest. But he was some player. His awareness, his touch was the best players. Their touch is unbelievable. Honestly, they get the ball exactly where they want it. They know where the opposition player's coming from, so they can just move it away from them. His body positioning, his awareness to which way to turn, when to have two touch. I just couldn't get near him. And I was, it was so frustrating because he kind of playing wide, but he'd come centrally. I'd go to mark him, he'd drift wide, I'd go with him, then he'd get in the hole, and he was quick as well. So, yeah, he gave me... We drew the game 1-1, but I remember coming off that game and I remember sitting in the dressing room thinking, I'm knackered. Absolutely knackered. So, yeah, he was... But look, I played against some... Like I say, I was fortunate I played against some amazing players, but I would say he gave me the toughest afternoon in my career. Yeah.
Listen, he's a World Cup winner. There's no shame in that whatsoever. And I was gonna, you know what? Yeah. We'll wrap it up there because I was gonna keep on asking you, but I wanted to make it under half an hour, so I didn't want to waste your time. But Dean, thank you so much for joining. It was really insightful, and I thought I had fun too. Even though I now know some more pain about how much you enjoyed that 5-3. And it kind of hurt me even more as a United fan. But
if you beat Man United 5-3, you've got to enjoy it.
You've got to.
It doesn't happen very often.
It doesn't happen very often. Well, recently, with the way we've been playing. I was going to quickly ask, did you swap shirts with anyone from United that day?
Do you know what? I don't think I did. I don't think I swapped shirts, but my mum's a Man United fan. I think I got John O'Shea's shirt because I think the other boys had swap shirts with the other players. So I remember going to see the kit man and just said, look, can I have one of the United shirts? I think I got John O'Shea's shirt from my mum because she's a big United fan. So I'm not sure whether she was happy or disappointed with that, but he was a good player. He was a good player in his own right, John. So,
he was.
Yeah, John O'Shea.
All right. Well, again, Dean, thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, thank you. Let's quickly wrap up. So this was another episode of ACW, a chat with the former Leicester, Brighton and Southampton midfielder, Dean Hammond. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, people.